Hello, 443 students. In this video, I want to walk through relatively quickly how you can complete your first personal reflection. This video will be updated since we are now in the Canvas environment. As you can see in my screen, I have set myself to look like a student. So this should be how you would see your Canvas account. Hopefully by now you've started the class by looking through everything you need to know about the 443 major points and the syllabus, and you've seen the overview on the positive psychology first lecture, downloaded and looked at the lecture slides, read the revised lecture transcript. It's revised so that it's not identical. It's about 95% overlap, but it is edited so that it is improved grammar. Watched both of the two lectures, taken your first quiz, and hopefully posted a nice comment about the quiz. I've seen many of you have done that already. When you've done that, you have now hit the prerequisites to actually do the happiness personal reflection. So, of course, as you will often do, you'll click on the overview section. And in this overview section, there's not a lot in here, but in this overview, you're going to see that you're going to have about 100 words describing the actual mini experiment, where you'll be going to a website called yourmorals.org, which was created by a friend of mine named Ravi Iyer. You'll register and you'll take 3 studies, and then what you'll ultimately do is write a reflection on that. So as we get back to our homepage, and we get to the personal reflection here, hopefully you'll have clicked on this already to watch this. There'll be a video here, which I'm recording it, so it clearly isn't there. The first thing you need to do is click on the Measuring Happiness video. This is a YouTube. It's about 14 minutes long. And the idea here is to learn a little bit about how positive psychologists measure happiness, so that you have a little bit of an understanding of what it means to measure happiness. And then when you've done that, you'll have the ability to sort of anticipate what you believe your current level of happiness is. And that's going to be important in most of the reflections that we do. One aspect of the reflection will be to anticipate what you think it'll be like to go through the intervention, then to experience the intervention, and then to write a reflection on that. All reflections are reflective writings. And so it is probably a good idea for you to go ahead and learn what is the difference between descriptive writing, which is where you'll be describing what you did, and reflective writing, which is where you'll be comparing your anticipation of the experience to the actual lived experience that you've had. Okay, so you've gone through and you've watched your happiness video, so you get a little bit of an understanding of how happiness is measured. You've read on how to write reflectively, and you come in here to reflectively actually to do this. So you can see that you have 2 attempts. There's no time limit or due date because our class is asynchronous. It's out of 20 points, and if you after you have completed the personal reflection, you'll see that I will give you points based on the rubric, as well as comments, and then you can address that. I'm in the middle of attempt 1 just to sort of show you. So when you clicked on this here, you'll see, oh, actually, this is me attempting it. That's funny. And we will come down here. Okay, so all personal reflections have roughly the same basic outline. So it tells you a little bit about the goal, what you actually need to do, some things that you need to think about when you are actually thinking about how to write this up. And then here I even give you sort of a 500-word path to actually reflectively writing in here. You won't see this in all of your particular reflective writing tasks. So the first thing that you need to do is you need to go to yourmorals.org. And if you click on it, you'll see here, you will need to register for a new account. I have already registered, so I'm going to take a moment and pause this recording so that I can sign into my account. Okay, so I am now into my account, and you'll see something that looks a little bit like this, hopefully for yours. You can see sort of these are what my scores are. on the moral foundation, which is the major survey that everyone has to complete. You'll see all kinds of surveys in here that you could complete. But if you come back to your personal reflection, here are the 3 surveys that you need to complete, right? So if I click on the satisfaction with life scale, this is the first one. This is basically a simple consent form that you would see most anywhere. And then you'll click on that. Here are the 5 different statements for the satisfaction with life scale. There's only 5 of them. It's a nice short one. I've taken this several times, so I know what my tendency is. Yours may be different, but that's okay because we all have different levels of well-being. So I know my scores, so I was able to do that relatively quickly. And then when you hit complete, you'll see something that sort of pops up like this. Now, if you don't get something that pops like this, it's very possible that you actually haven't registered. So you need to make sure that you have registered for the survey. You'll get a little bit of description of the scale that you completed, what it's intended to measure, what is a high score and what is a low score. So in this case, scores run from 1, which is the lowest possible, least happy person, to 7. My score here is shown in blue of a 5.6. And this is the important part for this, is that you want to actually compare your scores. And so I had a few people ask questions about this. So if we click here on compare your scores, you can see it says compare your scores to others. And I can pick who I want to compare this to. So I will pick, and now in this case, in the discussion forum, I've just shown a different one, but I'll go ahead and click this is my age group here. So I'll say, show me the analytics, and you can see, oh, look at that. My life satisfaction is higher than the people in my age group. I could also go and try and look at sex and compare people. I'm a male, age 48. And so now you can see here's me compared to my age group, and here's me compared to my sex, right? So I would say, oh, I'm happier than people of my age group, and I'm happier than people of my sex. All right, so I can export that to a PDF. I can reset the analytics, all right, and I can keep doing that. Once I've felt like I've got all the information I want out of that, then I'm going to come back here and I can take another survey. Again, I'm not going to go through this entire one. Here are all the questions. You'll see the basics of how to answer this question here. And then also this third survey here. So when you finished all 3 of these, now you can kind of finally go in here and look at the last part of this, right? And so if you look at these 5 paragraphs, this gives you a 500-word description of what you should be sort of writing on, right? I put some text in here just to try and see what it would look like on my end. That's obviously from our syllabus, so you can ignore that. So the first thing that you need to do is you need to determine before you took this survey and after you watched the video, how would you describe yourself? Would you describe yourself as a relatively happy person? Would you describe yourself as maybe average happy, maybe a little bit less happy than average? And why is that? What are some of the reasons behind that? Now, you'll notice you only have 100 words to do this, right? So don't try and write out of a stream of consciousness. The next thing you'll need to do is to compare your scores to others. And that's where we look at some of these scores in here, right? So I can compare my scores, right, to other people, like my age group. And when I do that, I can say, oh, I thought I was maybe of average level of happiness, but these results show me that I'm actually happier than people in my age group. Maybe that surprises me, right? You'll also notice that you have to have 3 different scales. And so maybe the satisfaction with life scale says that you're really happy. Maybe the dispositional positive emotion scale says that you're happy with some emotions, but not with others. And maybe the interpersonal reactivity scale says that ultimately you're not very happy. So that would be really inconsistent. So sometimes people take these scales and they get wildly different stories. Sometimes they take these scales and they get the same story. And then after you've sort of examined those, you're going to look at how your current life circumstances may have influenced your assessment. And then what have you learned about happiness through these different types of quizzes? Now, when you've done all that, you'll have a box in here. I have actually put in text in here. You'll type all that up. I would probably put that into like a Word doc, clean it all up, make sure it's good, make sure that you've written for at least 400 words, but make sure you have not written over 600 words. And when you're happy with it, you submit it. All right, I'm trying to keep these to 10 minutes or less, so I'm going to stop the video there. If you have any other thoughts or comments or questions, be sure to try and email them to me or put them in our discussion. Thanks, guys.